This new Titan build makes your Titan almost invincible. You could call yourself an Overload champion. Speaking of overloads, you don't even need to stun them to completely hammer them. You'll melt all champions instantly regardless of the activity's difficulty, whilst blocking damage to regain instant health, to then redirect a massive amount of damage back to the enemy. Bypassing all match game shields on top, you'll use your sword as your primary weapon, gaining infinite heavy ammo. You'll have a ton of damage resistance against adds, and you'll just destroy everything in the game pretty much instantly, assuming they're on the ground. But if they're not, why not go for a fly? What's not to love about that? Well guys, this is your Titan OP sword build. Rate, comment, sub and share, because now I'm going to go kill some more overloads. Two things before we start. Firstly, the background gameplay is a Legend Lost sector where adds completely destroy you, but this is to give you a feel of how the build plays. I did die a few times, but when you're a sword build in close combat harder activities, adds will hammer you, unless you hammer them first, which you will be doing most of the time. Secondly, if you like what you see, I do these builds every week, playlist below, go check it out if you want. Now let's officially start. So the main things to note with this build is that you will be a lot stronger and harder to kill. You'll deal more DPS, making this one of the best Titan builds for boss DPS in the game for solo play, and you will be able to use your sword permanently in activities. But how this build works is you first place down your barricade and get a kill to spawn a void elemental well, then pick up that well to gain damage resistance and 2 stacks of charger light, which then activates Lucent Blade to give your sword extra DPS for 5 seconds each, then just repeat. Now you will get that extra DPS with your sword for 5 seconds twice, so 10 seconds, and by then your class ability will be back, so then just repeat the process. You really only need to do this when you're ready for champion or boss DPS though in tougher activities. Now starting with the loadout, you have multiple choices here. For this build we're using a Lament as it comes with a built-in anti-barrier mod, which means you don't need to waste mods on anti-barrier rounds, but also this sword is one of the best swords in the game and you get this from a Beyond Light exotic quest. But if you don't have this and you don't want to use it, your third best option, yes, third, is the Falling Sword, which you can get from Gunsmith. Also amazing for DPS, but for Titan specifically, your number one best sword at the moment in Season 14, the boss DPS, is the second option, the Crown Splitter. If you're using this, then you really want to use Energy Accelerant, because currently as the making of this video, it's bugged. The other weapons don't really matter, but just make sure you can stop overloads, because although you don't need to, you kinda should in the hardest master activities. There's just no reason not to stun them. But other than that, the Lament will be useful against all shielded enemies and anti-barrier champions. For the subclass you can use anything of your choosing too, but to maximise boss DPS we go with the top tree Void Sentinel, Code of the Protector, specifically for the Ward of Dawn. That is pretty much all we're using a subclass for, as well as to stop unstoppables with the melee. The exotic armour we're using is one of what I thought was the worst exotics in the game, but it's actually not that bad, and that is Stronghold, where Guardian makes you a god. Well, kinda. We'll get to this soon, but for the helmet mods we are using Reaping Wellmaker, a new elemental well introduced in Season 14, where killing an enemy after activating your class spawns a void elemental well, and with this, 2 sword ammo finder mods for infinite heavy ammo. It's almost impossible to run out of heavy ammo. If you do, just leave a hate comment saying that you ran out of ammo and an overload killed you. Okay, moving on. The Stronghold Exotic Gauntlets. This will maximise your guard's stats on equipped swords, and shots blocked immediately after guarding will heal us, and honestly, this does save you in quite a few bad situations if you play it right. With this though, we are using a Well of Tenacity, I hope I've said that right. Another new elemental well mod, where picking up that void elemental well we spawn will reduce the damage we take from enemies. Perfect for our sword build, and alongside that we have our champion mods if you need them. If you don't, swap the mods to something that can help you get abilities quicker. For the chest we're using Lucent Blade to make our swords deal more damage for 5 seconds, using 1 stack of Charger Light, as well as 2 sword ammo reserve mods. If you want to be even tougher, start on some damage resistant mods instead, but I can't promise you won't run out of heavy ammo. But for the legs, we are using Radiant Light, which I'm actually using just so the secondary perk from Lucent Blade can activate from using another arc mod. So if you don't want to use this, it's not really required, but it helps. And it gives us melee energy as well, which is what you want if you're fighting unstoppables, as we'll stop them with our melee. But with this mod though, we also have our sword scavenger mod. Now for the class, we are using the elemental charge to become Charger Light when picking up those elemental wells we make, which will give us 2 stacks because it matches our void subclass. And preferably, you will only need to generate and use these Charger Light stacks when you need to deal some serious DPS, but you should be maxing out your resilience so that you get your class in under 10 seconds, so you can spam that ability to always be charged for light. Finally, we have our ability cooldown mod as well as our unstoppable melee. Then lastly, for your stats, you do want to max out resilience first, then recovery, then strength. If your strength is really low, use a weapon with a Wellspring perk to generate melee energy when needed. And I will point out, as I didn't mention this, but if you want to be able to fly, you'll have to slot online rampants and use this jump here, and then jump once, use your sword, jump, sword, and so on, and that lets you just jump infinitely for as long as you have heavy ammo. This is great for skipping past certain things and speedrunning activities. So I've covered some crazy builds over the past 2 seasons, but this one really did work the best for me, and this is one I'm probably going to keep alongside my Thundercrash and Kuros of the Fallen Star build, and I would rate this build a good 10 out of 10 for solo and team play. This is great for all activities like Master Nightfalls, Lost Sectors and Gambit. You can take this into a Grandmaster Nightfall, just make sure you have some form of extra healing and support like a Warlock's Rift or Well to be more effective. But guys, that is all for this one. Next you should go check out the playlist as always for more awesome top builds in Destiny 2. For now, as usual, give this one a try, let me know how it goes, or what your top sword build is in Destiny 2. Leave a rating, subscribe and share for more, as it really helps me out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.